paralysis, palsy, diabetes, adult and juvenile, hypertension, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Shri Rajan Nayyar treated all the cases registered in the camp, and most of the patients experienced a spectacular instantaneous relief. There is no doubt that Shri Rajan Nayyar is endowed with magical healing touch, with uncanny acupuncture skill, apart from exceptional level of humility, modesty and simplicity. During the camp, he let go his own needs and necessities to be personally available to suffering humanity. Even during very late in the night, Shri Rajan Nayyar is accomplished violinist and singer, and perhaps that is the reason he is so sensitive to the emotional needs of his patients. With the blessings of His Holiness Jagat Guru Shri Shivratri Deshikendra Mahaswamiji, all hospital staff, beneficiaries of the camp, we wish Shri Rajan Nayyar a long and healthy life, so that more and more number of patients are benefited by his healing magical touch. We also wish Voluntary Health Service a grand success in their unique patient care approach, that is DAM therapy, which will enable the ancient system of medicine to help millions of people with a unique scientific interpretation, which they are trying.
Dr. Ramesh Chandrasekharan will now present a shawl to Dr. Chaturvedi. I'm sorry. Dr. Hegde has already done the honors. So be it.
Mixing details.
Dr. Ramesh Chandrasekharan honoring Mr. D.R. Karthikeyan. We now have a reply by Dr. Rajan Nayyar.
இங்கு கூடியிருக்கும் அனைத்து நல்ல ஆத்மாக்களுக்கும் எனது சிறந்தார்ந்த நமஸ்காரங்கள். இன்று இவ்வளவு பேசப்படும் இந்த டேம் தெரப்பி ஆகப்பட்டது டாக்டர் சி.வி. கிருஷ்ணசுவாமி அண்ட் பிரேமா கிருஷ்ணசுவாமி அவர்கள் நாமகரணம் சூட்டினார்கள் டேம் தெரப்பி என்று. இந்த டேம் தெரப்பி ஆகப்பட்டது கூட்டு மருந்தில்லா மருத்துவத்தின் கூட்டு முயற்சியே. இதன் அடிப்படையில் டாக்டர் ஹெக்டே அவர்கள் இதை ஆசீர்வதித்தார். பின்பு உயர்திரு D.R. கார்த்திகேயன் அவர்களுக்கு தெரிவிக்கப்பட்டது. அவர்கள் கொங்கு நாட்டு மக்களுக்கு முதலில் என்னை அறிமுகப்படுத்தினார். பிறகு தாம் செல்லும் இடங்களில் எல்லாம் பறைச்சாற்றிக் கொண்டு இந்த உலகத்தில் நோயில்லா வாழ்வு வாழ அத்தனை பெரிய மனிதர்களும் ஆசீர்வதித்து இதை மேலும் மேலும் வளர்வதற்கு ஆசீர்வதிக்க வேண்டி என் சிறந்தாந்தி நன்றி தெரிவிக்க வார்த்தை இல்லை. JSS ஹாஸ்பிட்டலில் இருந்து பெரும் முயற்சி எடுத்துக்கொண்டு இதை வாழ்த்தி கொலாபரேஷன் பண்ணி இதை மேற்கொண்டு வளர்ப்பதற்கு உங்கள் அனைவரது ஆசையை வேண்டி நன்றி கூற கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். என் உடன் பணியாற்றும் அனைத்து எனது சகோதரிகளும் சகோதரர்களுக்கும் நன்றி ஆசைப்படுகிறேன்.
Thank you, Dr. Rajan Nayyar, for the emotional speech. We now come to another pleasurable part. We have the proud privilege of honoring Professor Krishnamurthy Srinivas for the dedication of a lifetime to neurological services at the VHS. I request Dr. CDK to present a plaque to Professor Krishnamurthy Srinivas and say a few words about the book to be released by him.
We are, I know, running 15 minutes behind schedule, but I think this is a very, very important thing which I cannot rush through. but I will not take much of your time. 15 minutes we are lagging behind because we started a little late. This portion was conceived when my very dear friend Sundaram was alive. And Sundaram passed away peacefully in his sleep 7 days ago, which was a shocking thing for us. His daughter has come all the way from Morocco, Deepika, the youngest, delivered by Prema, and she's such a lovely person. We love the Sundaram family so much. The Sundarams and Srinivas are close relatives. Sundaram was the first cousin of Srinivas. So I thought there's no other appropriate person than my friend Srinivas to do this honor of releasing this book. But before that, we wanted to honor Srinivas. He has completed the 4th core and 21 years. 4th core and 1. Sorry. 4th core and 1 is 81 years. He has seen the 1,000 moons. He is still very much active and compos mentis, and that is a boon to us because he still helps us with sane and sage advice, which he did 50 years ago. I know him in come 2015, which is hardly 2 months away or 1 month away. We would be completing. We both came back in 1965 after our training in England, and we have been friends and family friends ever since. And practice in VHS, he has been clinical, academic and research collaborator. We have published several articles starting from international conference on internal medicine, and then the IDF Delhi, and then various other places. The first very interesting article of ischemic optic neuropathy without diabetic retinopathy in a diabetes due to choked disc was jointly authored by Srinivas. Diabetic neuropathy, the first EMG machine was owned by jointly Srinivas and me, non-profit muscle conduction. The first muscle biopsy in VHS with special staining by Captain Jairam. I can't forget these events where Srinivas has done trailblazing, pioneering work in neurology for the VHS. 50 years he will be completing next year in VHS. And I have great pleasure in honoring Professor Krishnamurthy Srinivas, who is associated with me for 50 years, with VHS and my department for 48 years. And it's an expression of thanks by giving this plaque, but I request him to release this book, which was given a set of articles when Sundaram, who was a senior administrator in the Tamil Nadu government, he held several posts which are very, very prestigious, and ultimately as a PWD secretary, he resigned in glory. He didn't resign in disgrace. All his steps have been vindicated, and what was most important was today our Prime Minister says Swachh Bharat. 35 years ago, Prema and I saw his photograph in Dinatandi. Deepika was not yet born. Sundaram in her half shorts and Padma in her sari tucked up took big broomstick and cleared the streets of Thoothukudi. He was the collector in Thoothukudi. He cleaned the streets and made public awareness of Swachh Bharat 35 years ago. And that is the memory of Sundaram. He has been a friend, a philosopher, and a beautiful person with a variety of knowledge which is unparalleled. Art, culture, religion, music. I have written a foreword in this book, which was written when he was alive. So I have written a postscript when he passed away suddenly. So please read this book. One copy will be given to everyone after the release. I request Srinivas to say a few words to release the book. We can give him a hand mic there. Before that, I have to...
I'd like to thank the diabetic department and Dr. CBK and his colleagues for honoring me in such a nice way. Charles Dickens' famous quotation is, "The speaker should cultivate brevity with a leaven of levity, for nothing is worse than interminable longevity." So I'm going to keep you just for 1 or 2 minutes. I joined the VHS in 1965 January on Pongal Day at the request of Dr. SANJIVI, who was my teacher, because my father, who was a civil servant, settled here because of his interest in Sanskrit and music, whereas originally I was destined to go and settle in Delhi, where I was brought up. So when recently I wrote Walking Down Memory Lane of VHS, and that has been going to be distributed on 5th of December. Dr. SANJIVI visited me at VHS Hospital in Delhi, and at that time he told me he'll be registering this as a society in 58, and 63 the first patients were admitted. So when I come into the campus now, I think of that time when there was only one building, and how he had brought this 25 acres of land for a very small cost and designed and planned something for the future. So I am very grateful to him for having introduced me to community neurology. I think the greatest satisfaction that we've been able to treat neurological conditions which are very difficult to treat. The Rockefeller Foundation has offered a huge sum of money to anybody who can discover the treatment for motor neuron disease, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer. And as yet nobody has found a satisfactory treatment for these 3 diseases. And those of you, concluding those of you who read the Oxford textbook of medicine, in neurology the greatest problem is for the carer, not for the patient. So many of my patients whose carers are looking after them, they are the people who feel the sadness in their mind when they see somebody who is disabled. And fortunately for Professor Hegde, neurology remains the only specialty where you make the diagnosis from listening to the patient. So the quotation even in the United States is, "Please listen to the patient, he is trying to tell you the diagnosis." And the other thing is that there are 27 languages in India, 650 dialects and 8 religions. And it is impossible to master in all the languages. So history taking is the most difficult country is India. And to get a history from a patient can be very, very difficult. And one of my patients from the village, I'd like to tell you what he said. He said, "அந்த டாக்டர் நல்லா படிச்சிருக்காரு, நிறைய டிகிரி வச்சிருக்காரு, ஆனா குரங்கு மாதிரி பேசினாரு." So talk, tact and treatment, how to talk to a patient, that's part of treatment. Second fellow, I told him this பெரிய டாக்டர் வந்திருக்கார் வெளியூர்லேருந்து, நீ என்ன கம்ப்ளைண்ட் நீ சொல்ல அவருக்கு. He said, என்ன கம்ப்ளைண்ட் என்ன சொல்றது, அது என்ன பேர் நாளைக்கு ஊருக்கு நீ தானே எனக்கு டாக்டர். And the third thing is, I said, என்ன வயசுன்னு சொல்லி, he said, வெச்சுக்கோ 50. Most of them don't know their age. They have no birth certificate. Even today they don't know their age. And if you ask them, உனக்கு எவ்வளோ அக்கா எவ்வளோ தங்கை எவ்வளோ, ஒரு அக்கா ஒரு தங்கை பாம்பு கடிச்சு செத்து போயிருக்கு, ஒரு அண்ணா தேர்ட் கடிச்சு செத்து போயிட்டான். I don't know if you people are aware that 50,000 people die in India of snake bites and scorpion bites. And we recently had a unique patient who was bitten by a scorpion in Tanjavur and 6 months later has developed Parkinson's. And when we looked at the imaging, it showed that she had bled into the area which controls your movement. And I think that's the only case that I can think of that has. So we still live in a country where we have to use our skills and talking to the patient and getting the diagnosis rather than just going to the state. And Professor Hegde will also be very happy to hear that the new specialty in the United States is MRI negative neurology. That means something is wrong with the patient, but the MRI is negative. But the interesting thing about the MRI in Madras is that the husband carries his MRI and the wife's Dr. Rangachari stores sari bag. He usually brings it with that. Thank you very much. Sundaram is my first cousin. He has written about me also in his book. He was an outstanding scholar in Tamil, English and religion and music. He played the mridangam. I've been treating his Tamil professor, Dr. Indira Parsadi, a very famous Tamil writer. And he is a person who actually had a depth of knowledge both in English and in Tamil, to such an extent that he was worshipped by many people because of his scholarly approach. Unfortunately, he should have been here, but as Dr. CBK said, he passed away last week, and his daughter Deepika has come all the way from Morocco, and his other two daughters are also here. So it's sad that he is not here for me to release his book, and I'd like to do that now.
I call upon Ms. Deepika to come and receive the first copy of the book. I have the proud privilege of editing this book, and I must admit that a lot of in-depth research has gone into the writing of each of these articles, that I found it very, very difficult to select the articles that should go into this book, and then and each of those words were worth their weight in gold. So it was absolutely difficult to edit this book. I hope I have done justice to it. The book Pioneers in Medicine consists of not only the pioneers like Louis Pasteur and Lister, Osler, Robert Koch and the others. It also has giants in other fields who are present on stage here. Like
No,
Professor
I just want to make one last comment. In the book that I wrote on Dr. Sanjivi, I quoted Winston Churchill. Writing a book was an adventure. First it was a toy, then a master, and then a mistress, and finally a tyrant. So somehow Sundaram has managed to write this book in his usual